as I was saying, Joy Taylor, every dog has its day. And since I'm a big dog, I've got 2 days.
Okay.
So now.
You just called yourself a dog?
Yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm a big dog, a big one.
Kevin Durant is 6'11", who can pull up from 40.
Okay.
This brother is on that level. I'm talking about offensively.
Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
I'm better than you.
What up, everybody? Thanks for listening to another episode of the Lowdown Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brown. As always, today is Monday, March 30th, 2020, and it's a little bit after 3:30 p.m. Central Time. And I did mention this past Friday about how there's really not much sports to be covering at the moment due to coronavirus concerns, and the amount of cases, especially in America, is increasing at an exponential rate. So whoever's listening, you guys better stay safe out there because it seems like it's getting worse before it'll get better. And due to the lockdown, going into effect all the way until April 30th, which is exactly a month from today, you guys better continue to wash your hands and stay your butt in the house because we don't want to get other people sick, all right? But no need for me to talk about the coronavirus. That's just too negative. And again, this is a sports-centric podcast, and I'm going to try to talk about sports as much as I can, even though there's really not much sports to talk about. So that being said, I'm going to give you guys my top 10, or actually a list of my top 10 running backs leading into the 2020 NFL season, because why not? Just like Russell Westbrook. So starting off at number 10, I chose Leonard Fournette. So for those who don't know who Leonard Fournette is, he was a first-round, fourth pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. Came out of LSU. This guy he had a crap ton of accolades, as a matter of fact, when he was in college. One of the best running backs in college football history, especially in recent history, and one of the best power runners in college football history. And that also applies into the NFL right now. He's actually one of the league's best power runners. So that's why I had to add him on the list somehow, right? But the reason why he barely made it on this list, because there is a lot of talented running backs in the NFL today. And it was just tough to choose. I had to do my research and make sure I made the right list. But again, it's all about opinion, right? Because the stats speak for itself. The film speaks for itself. So there you go. And this past season, Leonard Fournette, he only scored 3 touchdowns, but he did have over 1,100 rushing yards. And he actually played from behind most of the time. And he only fumbled 1 time this season, which is also a huge takeaway from him because, there's some key objectives that running backs need to do. Obviously, get some yardage, right? Be sure to break tackles, be sure to have great vision, be able to have a great rapport with your quarterback, your offensive line, and obviously your offensive coordinator. And you got to be able to score some touchdowns, right? You got to be able to move the ball forward. You don't want to get negative yards. And you also have to tuck the ball, secure. So it's all about ball security. If you ever played college football, even high school, just football, period, coaches will repeat themselves over and over and over again for you to hold on to that football because they didn't want you to turn it over. So there you go. He has great ball security, as a matter of fact. He's always did. And he became more of a passing threat, as a matter of fact, this past season. He caught 76 of 100 targets, and he posted a career high with 522 receiving yards. So there you go. That's the reason why I put him on the list. And even though Jacksonville went 6-10 this past season, they finished 12th in the AFC, and they were last in the AFC South, as a matter of fact. But leading into this season, there's going to be a lot of chemistry between the young cats. And what I mean by that is Gardner Minshew. He's the go-to quarterback as of now. It's been official. It was official this past season when Nick Foles got injured. And speaking of Nick Foles, he got traded to the Chicago Bears, so he's no longer part of the Jaguars program. So, again, you got Gardner Minshew, Leonard Fournette, and DJ Chark, who also came out of LSU a couple years back. And he deemed himself worthy as being one of the top receivers, especially young receivers in the league. So there you go. That's my number 10. So moving on to number 9, and that'll be Alvin Kamara. Now, Alvin Kamara was a third-round pick in the 2017 draft, another 2017 prospect, came out of Tennessee, another SEC prospect. And here's the thing about Alvin Kamara. He kind of had a bit of a down year this past season. He had less than 800 rushing yards, and he had a career low of 533 receiving yards. But again, since he got drafted in 2017, you do the math in your head, he'll be entering his 4th season, so that means there's a lot of room for improvement. He's a young guy. He's only 24 years old right now. He'll be 25 in July. So that means he'll be 25 at the start of the season. Again, lots of room to grow. And he also had a career low of 6 touchdowns. But again, like I said, room for improvement, just like Drake. But the good news is about Kamara is luckily he had Latavius Murray as the go-to short yardage running back. And he did prove himself worthy. He was a great backup running back. And, basically those guys were going back and forth. They basically shared reps throughout the season. And obviously you had Michael Thomas as deeming himself one of the best receivers in the league right now. And here's the thing. The Saints, they've been fortunate enough to be able to use Alvin Kamara selectively. Like I said, between him and Latavius Murray. And here's the thing. So Alvin Kamara has one of the best hands in the NFL, especially for the running back position. So that's the thing about Alvin Kamara. Not only can he run the ball, he has great vision. He can catch in the backfield. He can run routes like he's a slot receiver. And he has great awareness. He's also a team player. You don't see him having any issues off the field. You don't see him having any issues in the locker room. Drew Brees has always been saying in post pressers. And obviously Sean Payton's been saying a lot of great things about him. So Alvin Kamara deserves to be on that list. You want to argue with me? Go ahead. But I believe he deserves to be in that top 10 list. And the Saints went 13-3 this past season. They were third in the NFC. They finished first in the NFC South. But here's the thing. They choked in the playoffs. They lost to Minnesota in the wild card round, which was not good. And we thought that was the last of Drew Brees. But he decided to return. Brees returns this season. And they did acquire Emmanuel Sanders. So the offense expected the Saints to have an explosive offense. You got Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Thomas, obviously Alvin Kamara, and hopefully, I'm assuming that Latavius Murray is staying. But either way, there's going to be a lot of talent in the backfield, especially on the offensive side with the Saints. So that's why Alvin Kamara is at number 9. So moving on to number 8, I chose Aaron Jones. So for those who are not familiar with that name, Aaron Jones was a 5th-round pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. Again, another one, just like DJ Khaled. There you go. He got drafted out of UTEP. Now, here's the thing about Aaron Jones. Since he was a 5th-round pick, many fans, especially Green Bay fans, didn't really expect anything out of him. They expected him to be like a backup guy, not to, obviously do anything out of the ordinary. But he did prove everybody wrong. This guy has really stepped it up the past 3 seasons, as a matter of fact. But early in his career, he was indispensable with the Packers offense. But this past season, he became one of the most productive running backs in the NFL. And he became a crucial part of a more balanced offense with the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, you got somebody like Aaron Rodgers, who's a veteran, one of the greatest quarterbacks today, and one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, as a matter of fact. Definitely going to be a future Hall of Famer for sure. And here's the thing. The main reason why I added Aaron Jones to this list is because he rushed for nearly 1,600 yards. It was 1,558 yards from scrimmage, as a matter of fact. And he tied Christian McCaffrey for the most total touchdowns at 19. So there you go. That's the main reason why I had to put him on this list because, hey, he was productive somehow. And again, film doesn't lie. Stats doesn't lie. And this guy is very talented. Another guy who proved himself worthy to be one of the best backs in the league, even though he was an underdog. And another guy, as a matter of fact, it was an argument between him and Philip Lindsay. There was an argument, but Philip Lindsay missed most of the season due to injury and stuff like that. But, hey, again, I am a Broncos fan, but it's pretty close between Aaron Jones and Philip Lindsay. I personally believe Philip Lindsay is more talented than Aaron Jones, but I had to put Aaron Jones on this list due to what he did this season alone. So the Packers did go 13-3. They finished second in the NFC, first in the NFC North. But here's the thing. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship, but they lost to San Francisco. But, hey, they made a run, right? And, again, Aaron Rodgers is returning, along with Devontae Adams, who's one of the most talented receivers in the league right now. So, again, a lot of chemistry between those guys. And expect Aaron Jones to put up some great numbers leading into this season. And so, that'll do for number 8. Moving on to number 7, I chose, now here's a drum roll. Hopefully you guys heard that. And it is Josh Jacobs. Now, you guys think I'm crazy, right? Because he just only had 1 season under his belt. He was a rookie this past season. But, hey, this guy definitely turned heads. I mean, he was a first-round pick coming out of Alabama, and he's from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Again, that's where I was born. Hey, what's up, though? But anyway, here's the reason why he's number 7. So he rushed for over 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 13 games because he injured his shoulder, so he missed out on the last 3 games of the season. The fact that he did this and averaged nearly 90 rushing yards a game as a rookie, yeah, he deserves to be on here, man. Heck yeah. Okay? Because with these stats, has Jacobs they had him as closing in with one of the better rookie seasons in recent memory. And he's definitely there, that's for sure. I mean, Josh Jacobs, if he continues to play with this high level of intensity, he can be one of the greatest. He can be arguably the best running back in the league real soon if he continues to play like this. He just needs to stay healthy, and he'll definitely find his way into the top 5 in no time. Now, the Raiders did go 7-9. They finished 9th in the AFC and 3rd in the AFC West, as a matter of fact. And I forgot to bring this up. they're no longer the Oakland Raiders, all right? I'm pretty sure you guys have been paying attention. They will officially be in Las Vegas starting this season. They already finished constructing their stadium, and Oakland is no more. So, but here's another thing. Josh Jacobs is going to have a lot of company this year because not only Derek Carr is returning, they did acquire Marcus Mariota, so they're going to have two dynamic dual quarterbacks. Josh Jacobs is going to have a lot of fun this year. So, that was number 7. Moving on to number 6, and that will be Nick Chubb. Now, Nick Chubb did come out of Georgia. Obviously with the Cleveland Browns, and he's rising up these rankings just as fast as anybody else I'm mentioning. This guy matched his rookie total with 8 touchdowns this past season, but he dramatically improved his overall numbers. He rushed for 1,494 yards on 298 attempts, and so that means, if you do the math, he averaged 5 yards a carry, which is really impressive in the NFL. And he did this in a dysfunctional offense. Because think about it. You had Baker Mayfield, who struggled this year, and Odell Beckham Jr. put up some career-low numbers, didn't really do well at all. And it was really Jarvis Landry that was leading the offense in the receiving position. And Nick Chubb did have some help with, obviously, Kareem Hunt, who's another top-tier running back. And Chubb is just as great as anybody else when it comes to being a bruiser. You can compare him to Leonard Fournette. I think he's better than Leonard Fournette. That's why he's number 6. You compare him to Derrick Henry, who's also lower down the list, which I told you guys I'll get to in a second. But Chubb is also bruised. This guy breaks tackles. It's really rare to see him get brought down by one defender. And he has good hands. He can block. That's another thing. He blocked really well. He did really well with pass protection with Baker Mayfield, despite Baker Mayfield's flaws this past year. But Nick Chubb, if he continues to improve, he's definitely a top 5 back for sure. Now, the Browns did go 6-10, and they were 13th in the AFC. They finished 3rd in the AFC North, and Baker Mayfield is staying, but, a lot of you guys are not really satisfied with that. But Case Keenum did get traded. They picked him up, and they do have a new head coach because they did fire Freddie Kitchens way back. So Kevin Stefanski is the new head coach. As of now, Odell Beckham Jr. is returning. Jarvis Landry is returning, and you still have Kareem Hunt on the roster. So these guys all need to be healthy. Nick Chubb needs to remain healthy. David Njoku, who's their top-tier tight end, he needs to remain healthy. And I don't know who's going to start, honestly, for quarterback. I mean, Baker Mayfield just really exposed himself of being mediocre this past year. And Case Keenum also isn't that good, but he does have a lot of starting experience. So it's going to be a battle between those two guys in training camp if it actually happens with the coronavirus causing issues. But, again, Nick Chubb, that's the reason why he's number 6. So, on to the next one. And that is Dalvin Cook at number 5. Again, Dalvin Cook is another young cat, came out of Florida State. And he was also, see, this is the thing about Dalvin Cook. He only played 15 games combined his first 2 seasons. But Cook was actually finally able to play more than 12 games for the first time in his career, as a matter of fact, this past season. And he had 13 touchdowns, and that was 11 more than his previous career high. So, again, that's really, really good improvement right there. And he had 519 receiving yards, and that was also his best number. But here's the thing. He doesn't really have any high volume stats as of now. But Dalvin Cook has shown that he has the tools to dominate the game if he can play like all 16 games. He hasn't really done that yet. And if he stays healthy, think about it. He's a top 5 back right now. And he can be a top 3 running back if he remains healthy. And they like to run the ball a lot. I know Minnesota likes to run the ball a bunch. And they're going to give him more. They're going to give him more opportunities this year because, they lost Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs got traded to the Buffalo Bills, but Adam Thielen will return. Kirk Cousins is returning. Big contract that signed with him. Vikings went 10-6. They were 5th in the NFC, and they were 2nd in the NFC North. And they beat the Saints in the wild card round, like I mentioned earlier. But they lost to San Francisco in the divisional. But again, Dalvin Cook is going to expect him to get more reps this year because they don't really have a receiving corps like they did this past season unless they have a good draft pick, but we'll have to wait on that. But again, Dalvin Cook still deserves to be a number 5 on that list. Now, on to the next one, and that is number 4 on the list. And guess who I chose? Ezekiel Elliott. He was a first-round pick out of Ohio State in the 2016 draft by the Dallas Cowboys. And Zeke had a great season this year. He had 300 carries, and that's for the 3rd time in his career, as a matter of fact. And he had 1,357 rushing yards, and he scored 12 touchdowns on the ground. Ezekiel Elliott, they fed him, obviously. Feed Zeke. You know the term feed Zeke? They always talk about that. Cowboys fans always talk about that. But he doesn't. Here's the thing. he didn't really get that much credit for his pass protection. See, Zeke, not only can he run the ball, not only can he catch, but he can block, man. That guy is a bruiser. He's a dog, man. The reason why I said that he's a dog because Ezekiel Elliott, he's physical. He likes to hit. I don't know if you guys paid attention. So when he was going through spring football, Urban Meyer did say it when he was coaching back at Ohio State. Ezekiel Elliott is competitive. He is very physical. He likes to hit somebody because some running backs, they get a little timid here and there. They like to avoid, blocking somebody. They like to go for the cut block, or they like to try to, like scurry their way out of contact. That's not Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott will deliver a blow, and like I said, he's very competitive. He has great vision. This guy is elite. There's a reason why the offense needs to feed him. So, despite the Cowboys having an inconsistent season this past year, they went 8-8. Which was garbage, right? They lost to some terrible teams. No need for me to get into that. But Zeke is arguably one of the NFL's most well-rounded running backs, right? He's actually, in my opinion, I think he's the most well-rounded running back right now. So that's my opinion on that. And again, they finished 8-8. They were 9th in the NFC, 2nd in the NFC East, did not make a playoff visit, fell short to the Philadelphia Eagles when it mattered most. But here's some good news. They have a new head coach. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about that. Mike McCarthy is a new head coach, no longer with Jason Garrett, right? And Michael Gallup is returning, another young, talented player. Amari Cooper is returning, signed a big contract. And with Jason Witten going to the Raiders, Blake Jarwin is now the go-to tight end. And Dak is returning. They placed a franchise tag on him not too long ago. So maybe the Cowboys might do better this season. I mean, you guys have been saying that for the past, 23, 24 years? But maybe this is it. Maybe this is it, like Michael Jackson. So that's my take on why Ezekiel Elliott is number 3 on that list. Now, or actually number 4, my fault. Number 4 on that list. So next up, it's going to be Saquon Barkley at number 3. Now, here's the thing. Barkley had an amazing rookie season in 2018, but he had a short campaign this past season due to injuries. And as a matter of fact, the New York Giants were beat up. Their offense was pretty much, the entire offense was pretty much beat up. So Saquon is one of those rare talents, right? He is like a rare breed, similar to Adrian Peterson, similar to LaDainian Tomlinson, Barry Sanders. I mean, those are some names that I like to compare Saquon Barkley to, because when he was on the field this past year, he averaged 110 yards per game, but he didn't play that long. But still, if you're averaging 110 yards per game, that is very impressive. And the Giants have a mediocre offensive line. And you know who else was able to put up some great numbers with a mediocre offensive line? That was Barry Sanders back in the day, especially in 1997. He rushed for over 2,000 yards with one of the worst offensive lines in the league that year. Barkley has potential to do something similar to that, but I don't think he's as good as Barry Sanders, obviously, but he has potential to be an all-time great. But he's a workhorse. They're going to give him the ball a lot. This guy is, like I said, a rare talent. He can do everything. He's an all-purpose back, great hands, great pass protection, great ball security, great feet. He is the perfect running back. It's, like I said, it's going to be a long time until he's a generational talent, in my opinion. That might be a hot take. That is a hot take, as a matter of fact. I think he's a generational talent. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with when the Giants finally get their offense healthy and, on the go. Now, obviously, we already knew Eli Manning announced his retirement back in January. And Daniel Jones became the starter. It didn't really take him long to become the starter this past year. The Giants did go 4-12 though, and they finished 3rd in the NFC East, which is pretty bad, right? They were 3rd in the NFC East, and they finished 4-12 because the Redskins did even worse, and they were 14th in the NFC overall. But like I said, Jones is returning, and Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard, they're returning. Evan Ingram also returning. All those, so Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram suffered from injury most of the season. That's one of the main reasons why the Giants were so dysfunctional, because they didn't really have their top guys ready to go and healthy. So, again, expect Saquon Barkley, if he's healthy this year, expect him to put up some drastic numbers. Expect him to go out there and just put up some, godlike numbers, all right? Just expect it to happen. That's the reason why I wanted to put Saquon Barkley at number 3. So, moving on to the next running back, and now this is down to the top 2. So, now listen up. So, at number 2, I chose Christian McCaffrey. Now, Christian McCaffrey was another running back that got drafted in 2017, first-round pick. Again, this list is loaded with 2017 running backs. And he's been with, obviously, Carolina since his rookie season. And this guy is one of the most dynamic running backs in the NFL. I think this past season, he was the most dynamic running back. He was the first running back with 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards since Marshall Faulk in 1999. So that's a 20-year gap since the last time somebody put up some numbers like that. And he rushed for 15 touchdowns, and that was third in the league. And he had 19 touchdowns from scrimmage, and that led the league. And again, his 116 receptions here, don't get this twisted. He had 116 receptions, which was the most of any running back ever. And he also led the NFL in yards from scrimmage with 2,932 total. So there is no question that the NFL is transitioning to running backs who can rush or run the route on any given play. Christian McCaffrey is a prime example for that. I can't see any other running back doing something that spectacular. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Saquon Barkley has what it takes to put up numbers like Christian McCaffrey. But again, that man needs to stay healthy. McCaffrey got the job done. So, yeah, that's the reason why I put him at number 2 at the list. Some of you guys, if you're a Panthers fan especially, you wanted him at number 1. But I'll get to that in a second. I'll explain why the other guy's at number 1 instead of Christian McCaffrey. But so, there's my takes on that. The Panthers did go 5-11. They finished last in the NFC South. They were 13th in the NFC. And then, so the takeaways is they have a new head coach, Matt Rule, who has no coaching experience in the NFL. He came out of Baylor. They fired Ron Rivera, who's now with the Washington Redskins. And the Panthers did pick up Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to be their starter because Kyle Allen got traded to Washington. And they have DJ Moore returning. So expect Christian McCaffrey to put up some spectacular numbers. I don't personally see him putting up the same type of stats next season as he did this past year. Because that's where, again, you see why. Marshall Faulk was the last guy to put up 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. Again, Christian McCaffrey in the history books. Now it's down to number 1 on the list. And that is Derrick Henry. Yes, sir. Derrick Henry with the Tennessee Titans. Second round overall pick back in 2016 to the Tennessee Titans. Been there ever since. And here's the thing. Derrick Henry is 6'3", nearly 250 pounds. He is a freight train, runs a 4.5 40, and he carried the Titans offense. And this is like a Cinderella type of story playoff run that they had. These guys defeated the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. They defeated the freaking New England Patriots in the wild card. They go all the way, they make a run all the way to the AFC Championship, fell short to the Chiefs, but Derrick Henry did most of that work. This guy led the league in rushing yards. He had 303 carries for 1,540 yards, and he had 16 rushing touchdowns. Now, in the postseason, he added nearly 500 yards. It was 446 yards total in just 3 games. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. Henry, he actually surpassed Marshawn Lynch as the best power runner of this era. Okay? That's a hot take. That's my opinion. He is the best power runner of this era. I had to repeat that, and he also blossomed into one of the most difficult backs to bring down in the history of this sport. Again, 6'3", 247 pounds. Derrick Henry is a force to be reckoned with. He is just as big as Von Miller, right? And Von Miller is one of the best linebackers in the league. Derrick Henry is a workhorse. I can't see him slowing down anytime soon. Man, that's the reason why I had to put him in front of McCaffrey. You know why? Because this dude has the size and the strength and the speed for it, and he carried his team all the way to the AFC Championship. Titans weren't even supposed to make it out of the wild card. They weren't even supposed to go to the wild card because they went 9-7. They finished 6th in the AFC and actually 2nd in the AFC South. But again, that's my reason why I wanted to put Derrick in front of Christian McCaffrey, because this dude's also possibly a generational talent, too big for everybody else and too strong for everybody else. Now, the biggest takeaways leading into the season for these guys is Ryan Tannehill did sign a big contract, so he's returning. A.J. Brown also returning. And now they pretty much are the best team in the AFC South, because everybody heard about that debacle in Houston where Bill O'Brien traded away DeAndre Hopkins for some salad, right? For David Johnson. No disrespect to the guy. But again, that's the reason why I don't see the Houston Texans being the top team in the AFC South. I now see the Titans taking over from here on out. So that was down to number 1. Again, that was my top 10 running backs leading into the 2020 season. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed my hot takes. And I will upload some more episodes about this. So expect a top QB list, a top tight end list. So pretty much any position, any skill position, maybe a few offensive line too. But I'm going to go more in depth with these skill positions. So expect quarterbacks, wide receivers, defensive backs, linebackers, tight ends. Expect that to be coming out pretty soon. I will continue to have guests on the show, but today didn't really have time to get a guest on there. So I decided to do this right now. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe it, tell your friends about it, share it on social media, And I'll see you guys on Wednesday for episode 74. Peace out.